Good evening and welcome to Undaunted Weekly Recap. I'm Star Smart. Let's begin.
Well, this week we continued our journey to freeing homeland Amazonia. We got all kinds of reports, from the report of Mount Boya in Fako to the report of Kumba Etiti working on their routes. But most importantly, we had the SOS for Finance and Resource Mobilization Niger clearing the air on the interim government's position on the new method of drafting this year.
Well, just in case you missed out on the news from this week, here's a recap, but only after this break.
The media greatly influences society. They inform people about what is happening. It permeates people's lives by creating their own criteria and opinions. In this way, the media moves the masses, creating different social movements.
For over 60 years, the people of Amazonia were deprived of such privileges. The privilege to enhance their own criteria and opinion. They have suffered cultural genocide for 6 long decades, but not in this age and not with Undaunted ABC Amber News on board.
You must understand that wars are fought and won in the media. The speed of the revolution on Amazonia's quest for freedom cannot be explained without highlighting the diligent use of the media.
Franco-Cameroon colonizers, among other strategic moves, weaponized the media against Amazonia for so long, and they continue to do so even today. The question would be, how much do the oppressed people of Amazonia need to counter the media rage?
Indeed, how much more is required to stop the genocide? The carnage in Amazonia didn't start today. In 1961, 1972, 1984, 1992, Amazonians were slaughtered in huge numbers and help was not forthcoming. Why? Because the oppressor was the piper in the media.
The good news is we have what it takes to dictate the pace.
Right now, ABC Amber TV is taking advantage of the wonders of multimedia aggressively
to inform the misinformed and disinformed with Undaunted and other revolutionary programs bringing it to the news untold stories.
Most importantly, to win the media war by taking ABC Amber TV into every multimedia platform.
In a word, where the importance of storytelling can never be overemphasized, Amazonians has to tell her own story, not the other way round.
And like we say it always, Amazonia must narrate the story accurately. We can do this together, you know, right? You are just a click away. Visit our website at www.abcambertv.com, and the steps are quite simple.
With just a click on the website, you can become a club member with so many benefits.
You can also make a one-time donation, advertise and showcase your goods and services at the marketplace on the website.
That was easy, right? You're welcome on board.
And thank you for opting for the winning team.
right, you're welcome back. This week, we told you that disrupting any La Republic to Cameroon organized ceremony by the Ambazonian interim government through the Ambazonian Restoration Forces in Ambazonia is legally legal. But hurting the innocent population to achieve this objective is highly prohibited by the interim government and her president, Dr. Samuel Ikomen. Now, weeks ago, CDC workers were attacked by supposed unknown gunmen, and fingers were pointing left, right, and center as to who or which group were responsible for the attack that killed five, wounding many. Well, the interim government is reiterating that the IG is not involved in such atrocity.
Also, the British High Commissioner to La Republic du Cameroon, Christian Denis McClure, has, on behalf of the United Kingdom's government, condemned the attack on civilians in Boya, local government area, last weekend when colonial La Republic du Cameroon's government organized a race on Fako Mountain. The UK condemns the bombings against the civilian populations during the Mount Fako race in Boya. This is what he had to say, the diplomat wrote on his Twitter. Well, the attack, which took place during the 28th edition of the La Republique du Cameroon's organized race on Fako Mountain, led to at least 19 people injured, including children.
Well, the people of Koba of Amazonia, who for years have not seen a taxi enter into their village because they have been waiting on the colonial administration of La Republic de Cameroon to provide them with a road, they have taken it upon themselves to construct their village road with bare hands with rudimentary tools. If not for the bad governing system of the colonial and neighboring La Republic de Cameroon government, Amazonians would have self-developed many sectors that are now paralyzed. But with their determination to free Amazonia, those abandoned sectors will be developed by Amazonians.
Well, on Tuesday, we gave you the report that the BIR element engaged in a fight. At press time, Undaunted was still to get the reasons for the fight, but it is during the fight that the so-called trained and professional BIR element removed his dagger, stabbing the teacher in his stomach. Eyewitnesses' account states that the teacher was armless, yet the La Republique du Cameroon chose to starve the armless secondary school teacher. Such an act is strange to Cameroonians, and who have been for some time supporting their forces, that they are professionals. But to an Amazonia, it is just one of the atrocities that have been committed against them.
Well, a 22-year-old Amazonian in IDP has been killed as well. She was killed at the Yaoundé General Hospital. Her name is Ndong Omega. She was admitted to the hospital on the 22nd of February 2023 due to health issues. She was later found dead. The family discovered a shocking revelation that some of her body parts were chopped off. Since Amazonians' life does not matter anymore before La Republique de Cameroon, the said hospital has not made any statements in this regard. Rather, the family was threatened to leave the hospital premises with the corpse.
Again on Tuesday, we reported that the CPDM poised to blindfold the world again, that there is a return to normalcy in Ambazonia, Paul Biya's party, which for the fear of the unknown campaigns in a Yaba hotel for the Northern Zone since 2016, that hostilities broke out with Amazonians not wanting to have anything to do with the La Republique du Cameroon in their land. Today, they think that they can use their upcoming senatorial gambling elections to blindfold the world that all is well in a war-torn Amazonia. While the CPDM party seems to enjoy some relative comfort in the southern zone while the terrain remains hostile and very slippery for the CPDM party in the northern zone.
Meanwhile, reports got to Undaunted within the week that a female victim of the organized Mount Fako race explosions in Boya local government area died at the regional hospital on Tuesday morning. Now, the report also added that just being a mere spectator, she was severely injured alongside her three children as they stood by the door watching the colonial La Republique de Cameroon race last Saturday morning in Restive, Amazonia. Now, it is believed that the woman who is said to have hailed from Moi in the northern zone and whose picture Undaunted could not still get or trying to process was among the people severely injured in the triple explosions that injured 20 people during the 50th edition of the Colonial La Republic du Cameroon race.
While many Amazonians are in hospitals nursing wounds from an accident that could have been avoided, but for the greediness of a colonial La Republique du Cameroon police officer, it wasn't. The greedy police officer jumped himself into a car and gunpoint forced the taxi driver to follow a private car. The report holds that the private car failed to stop at an extortion La Republique du Cameroon police checkpoint. The greedy policeman that Undaunted was unable to get the name at press time, not willing to let go of any France, decided to go after this private car. Many families affected as a result of the actions of one greedy police La Republique du Cameroon policeman. The taxi driver is also greatly affected by the accident as he is in critical conditions and his car is damaged.
Well, Undaunted just gathered that some members of the G27 platform of the SDF who were last Saturday expelled from the party have been firing missives at the national chairman Nijon Fundi. The members have described their dismissal as a carriage and of miscarriage injustice. The NEC decision stated that by seeking external legal redress to grievances that are internal in nature, bypassing all the organs and statutory dispositions of the party, such members are by this act forfeiting their rights to membership. Following the NEC resolution, which has been raising controversy, the dismissed members have taken turns to vent their anger and indignation. The loudest voice was that of Jean-Michel Ninchu, who recognized he had taken note of his dismissal. He issued a statement to the National Assembly demanding all deductions made from his salary for SDF to be stopped immediately.
Well, La Republique du Cameroon's Minister of Finance, Louis Paul Mutaze, has been banned from leaving the country amid an investigation into his alleged involvement in the assassination of journalist Martinez Zogo. Undoubted sources gathered on February 28, 2023, that a prosecutor is seeking charges against Mr. Mutaze, who has been asked to explain his links with a key suspect in the killing, who is none other than a supposed La Republique du Cameroon's business tycoon, Amogu Belinga. Undoubted sources hinted that colonial La Republique du Cameroon finance boss, Minister Mutaze, reportedly wrote to Prime Minister Dion Ngute asking for permission to lead a delegation abroad for the signing with Société Générale de Surveillance, SGS, whose headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland, an amendment to a contract on the program to secure customs revenue.
Also, the Amazonian fighters of Ngoken Tuja, under the commandership of Field Marshal Assagon, shattered an armored car belonging to Cameroon used in inflicting suffering on the people of southern Cameroon's Amazonia. With the use of an improvised explosive device on Wednesday, March 1st, 2023, FM Assagon succeeded in grounding an armored car of the La Republique du Cameroon military, sending the occupants to the land of where they will stay. On Wednesday, March 1st, still in Bamenda Midland zone of Amazonia, Colonial Commando and his boys paid a visit of respect to one of the colonial hegemony in Amazonia to the police station in Inquim. All right, and coming up after the break, we'll go for the fresh reports of today.
to the new reports, the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement (CPDM), described by their patriots as Chop People Dem Money (CPDM), is daring in Amberland, where it seems to have stifled positions in the northern zone and an easy walk in the southern zone. The northern zone of Amberland is a sensitive spot, slippery even in the dry season.
While President Paul Biya's party has total grip over the southern zone, the erstwhile leading political party, the Social Democratic Front, SDF, still has pockets of resistance in the northern zone. And with through these remarks with Biya and the Essingan, his party could carry the day just for him to have some fringe benefits from representation in the Senate, especially now that his party has lost its basic tenets and is involved in several squabbles, wrangling, security challenges from the ongoing Amazonian Liberation War, however, stared the CPDM and the SDF in the face.
Well, a few weeks ago, two officials of La République du Cameroon's elections management body in the northern zone were killed, and it hasn't been safe traveling from Bamenda through up to Kumbo and Nkambe. As the CPDM launches its campaigns in Bamenda, a fuel station, Total, located at Nkwane neighborhoods, is set on fire. Armored cars belonging to the colonial La République du Cameroon military, chased out of Bouy County by Amazonian freedom fighters, are put down by Major General Sagon and his Amazonian Restoration Forces in UNDAUNTED local government area, Ngoketunja County.
In the southern zone, the explosive last weekend at the La République du Cameroon's organized Mount Fako race could be sending very big signals to those stubborn CPDM people who still think Ambazonia is child's play and the senatorial attempt could be marred because Amber has come to stay. One thing remains clear that since the onslaught of the Ambazonian War of Independence, no election has taken place in Amberland. In the southern zone, for instance, results are concocted at the heavily militarized Ayabas Hotel, and we have councillors, mayors, prime ministers, and senators who do not represent anybody except their stomachs. Most of them are given bodyguards and non-lives within their constituencies for the fear of the unknown.
Well, others were bulletproofs, while others were driven by the colonial La République du Cameroon military in armored cars. In the end, La République du Cameroon tells the world that all is well when actually nothing works. With the promising firepower being ushered in with the kick-starting of the federal government draft that was groundbreaking, La République du Cameroon's venture may meet very unpleasant surprises in Amberland with their senatorial bid.
All right, now back to the Mount Franklin race. 6 out of the 24 received at the Boyer Hospital had severe burns, and one woman gave up the ghost. Reports reaching Undaunted says the Colonial La Republic of Cameroon's director of the Boyer Regional Hospital, Dr. Mokeke Martin, has said that they are working to ensure that all victims of the February 25th explosions during the Mount Cameroon Race of Hope are discharged. Dr. Mokake told Undaunted Source that 6 victims out of the 24 who were received on the day of the incident are still in their care due to the seriousness of the burns they suffered.
Well, as a matter of fact, he went on to say that they suffered first and second degree burns. Among the 24 casualties that we received, he says, there were several minor injuries, Dr. Mukake indicated. On the same day, we liberated more than half of the victims, and today we are left with just 6 persons. The Colonial Republic of Cameroon's health official added that 3 more patients will be discharged soon, highlighting that all bills are being handled by the Colonial Republic of Cameroon's Ministry of Health. All of the victims are having their treatment and support without paying, he said.
The Minister of Health gave the order to take care of the cases without payments, Dr. Mokake added. He said it is what that the victims, 2 athletes and 3 children, with the youngest aged 1 year, 6 months, are all civilians. A woman spectator died afterwards, while 3 kids were still receiving treatment.
The Yaoundé colonial government has impoverished the population, making them so poor and desperate that in spite of the explosions, runners still continued sacrificing their lives for money. Enter the next report.
Well, the Amazonian fighters under General Sagat arrested and released the very killers of their people. Well, this is not mercy, but you could call that stupidity of the highest order and shows that the General Sagat is not a genuine amber fighter, but probably a compromised person, according to many. Has colonial and genocidal French Cameroon occupation forces ever arrested and released any Amazonian fighters? Well, I'm sure your answer is as good as mine. Instead, Amazonians are summarily executed whether they are fighters or not. Now, this means that the said General Sagat needs to be investigated to see if he is fighting for or against the Amazonians.
Or 2 officers in Boya who were arrested by Amazonian fighters operating in Faco County of the Atlantic Zone have been freed. The bi-weekly newspaper The Post reported it in its March 3rd edition. The officers of the Colonial Republic of Cameroon Judicial Police in Boya, who was named Gideon Tikum and Honorain, were reportedly arrested around Lisoka village in Boya local government area while on patrol on Wednesday, March 1st. They were taken by fighters loyal to fighter General Sagat, who operated at Boya and Muyuka local government areas. The Post reported that Tambe Chikum, a human rights activist, succeeded in securing their release that Wednesday evening after negotiating with General Sagat, who had threatened to kill them.
The 2 colonial officers, according to reports, were beaten and their guns seized by General Sagat. They said in their explanation, I was traumatized when he threatened to kill them in the next 2 hours. He said, I virtually went down on my knees and convinced him the 2 officers were his children.
Well, he goes on to say that one of them coincidentally bears the name Tikum, and he insisted that he was his son. It is on that note that he insisted that he should report in person to a corner and negotiate their release. This is Tambe Chiku, quoting to have said this. Well, by Wednesday evening, the 2 officers had been released, and it is not clear whether any ransom was paid for their freedom. This was the second notable negotiation Tambe Chiku successfully conducted during the armed conflict in English-speaking regions of Cameroon. And on to the next report. Are the Amazonian freedom fighters in Buyi County harassing denizens?
Well, inhabitants of Kumbo local government area in Buyi County and neighboring counties are in a fix as Amazonian freedom fighters recently stepped up measures that are directly affecting denizens. Unconfirmed reports reaching Undaunted says in Shisong, Kumbo local government area, the Amazonian freedom fighters are forcing shop owners to pay them what they call taxes, and that some business owners have been shabbily treated and some were abducted and forced to pay heavy ransom upon their release in the Mboluf camp.
Well, Undaunted gathers that in Beijing, Tobin, still in Kumba local government area, 6 students of Government Bilingual High School GBHS Kumbo were abducted on February 12, 2023 for allegedly participating in the La Republique du Cameroon's organized 11th of February Youth Day March Past. They are allegedly being held in captivity in their Nkobi Kikaikom camp. One student is said to have been released while the other 5 are still missing. Amongst them is a teenage girl of 16 years old.
The parents of the 5 are distressed and are pleading for the release of their children. Report says the parents are arguing that their children did not participate in the march past and that they were victims of blackmail from neighbors whose children are school dropouts. There is general discontent too with the number of road checkpoints in the Bui Amazonian freedom fighters who have erected between Congo local government area and Winama in Jakiri local government area 6 checkpoints at a distance of 31 kilometers. Drivers are forced to pay 2,000 francs CFA per checkpoint, while passengers are also forced to alight from their vehicles and pay 500 francs CFA for what they call supporting the struggle.
Well, the transport fare from Kumbo to Bamenda, that is a distance of 105 kilometers, is 7,000 francs CFA, while Kumbo Jakiri, 23 kilometers, which was 500 francs CFA before the conflict, is now at 2,000 francs CFA. The checkpoints at Sakong, Wainama, and Wainama town can be compared only to the Coupes de route in the north of Cameroon. They seize phones, money, and valuables from passengers and force some passengers to sit with them until they pay heavy sums of money before entering their cars. This is what Mr. Felix, one of the businessmen who plies the road 3 times a week, had to say.
Now, in some cases, undaunted lands, some passengers have been forced several times to review their mobile money PIN codes and money swept from their accounts, and that an angry driver was severely beaten at the soap checkpoint when questioned about their move. It is alleged that another driver was beaten last Sunday for saying that Bui County is exaggerating this struggle and they prefer the military that aren't harassing them and molesting their passengers.
It is said that after Wainama in Jakiri local government area, every passenger sings in the car to Bamenda because there is no Ambazonia freedom fighter checkpoint in the whole of Nkoketunja and Mezam counties. Worthy to note that the Amazonian Restoration Forces of Nkoketunja County just recently lifted the ban on traveling along Bamenda Undop Kumbo axis. So the question would be, who are these other people?
We the people, ABC Amber TV, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless, the voice of Ambazonia, connecting the world from Africa. With untold stories, Africa's best.
All right, and this is where we draw the curtains today on the Undaunted Weekly Recap.
We'll leave you with ABC Amber TV images. Good night and God bless you.
Well, coming up next is
Defense briefings.